everyone, it's Justine and welcome to the 12 Days of Christmas 2017. Today's a bonus video in which I'm going to be showing you how to create a watercolor galaxy that is not too hard or complicated. This is the first attempt I've ever had at doing a watercolor galaxy background in its entirety, and I'm really looking forward to showing you how to do it. So I started off by wetting my brush, dipping it into the black color, and I'm just going to paint back and forth with my new brush from Prima. It's a number 8 round brush, and I'm just going in like this. Honestly, I am not a painter, and it might look like a hot mess for a little while, but it actually turned out really nice and I was surprised with the results. So give it a try and add in the colors that you want the most in your galaxy background. In the end, I'm going to let this dry and cut it down into die cutting pieces, so if you screw up on an area, it's not the end of the world. Alright, so I'm going to speed you up as I'm going out through here. I'm using my Koi watercolors here to create this card. And because I'm going on a large sheet of paper, I'm able to get more out of this rather than just doing a background on a standard size card. So I went in with the black, and now I'm going in with a very dark navy blue, and I'm going back and forth between the colors in order to blend them together as best I can, so it creates a nice smooth transition. Then I went in with some violet, and I would say that the best thing to do is also keep going in with some black in there. It makes it look more natural. I eventually went in with some yellows and oranges as well in order to add some more color. It's just important to keep going back and forth with the colors, and as I said, keep adding some black in there. I think with my final product, I would have liked to have more black going throughout the colors to separate them a little bit. Would have looked a little bit more realistic and toned down some of the color a little bit. But overall, I just keep going in with these few colors here, so some yellow, purple, navy blue, lighter blue, and black. And you can just experiment. And as you can see, I'm not doing any sort of fancy lines or curves. I'm just adding color, mixing them together. And as I said, I rarely watercolor, and I was able to come up with this really cool background. So don't feel intimidated to try it out. I also took a class on Galaxy watercolors that I haven't completed yet, but I'll link to it below in the video description. If you're interested at all in joining, I'm going to be definitely completing it in the new year. So once I was finished with that, I went ahead and added a little bit of salt to my project, and that creates a little bit of a resist with the water and creates some really cool splotches. And that was kind of my last step before going in with some finishing touches. So when I was satisfied with the rest of my color, I went in with a bit more black there. I went and added my Starry Colors palette, and this is from Gansai Tambi, and I went ahead and added a little bit of gold. Now I'm going to zoom in pretty far here so you can see what kind of effect that gold has when it touches the wet paper. It looks so cool, and it creates these little bursts of golden color, and they look fantastic when they're all dried. So once I was finished and satisfied, I went ahead and left that overnight to dry naturally. I didn't use a heat tool, and this is what it ended up looking like when it was all finished. It looks a little bit like a hot mess at points, and I'm sure I can make galaxies much better once I take this class and actually pay attention more than I should have so far, or I have been so far. But I'm going to be cutting it up into little pieces, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm going in with a paintbrush here, and I am just flicking white paint everywhere. Be careful, it did get all over my walls, so make sure you're using something to protect your surface. And I just keep adding until I get sort of some stars on there, and you can see that I ended up getting some lines of paint, but I'm not overly concerned at all with that. So once again, I let that just dry up there, and I ended up creating these over a period of a few days. I just kind of didn't have a lot of time, so I went back and forth a few minutes each day. And I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm going to grab some various dies and stamps from Concord and 9th to cut out from this watercolor painting. So I'm going to be using the Trim the Tree. So this is this tree here with such a cool stamp set. This one here is from the September release, the Joyful Noel dies and stamp set, and I'm going to add the words on here. Originally I thought I could only fit the joy, but I was able to fit the Noel as well, so I was able to get another card out of it. And then once I finished taking those dies, I grabbed the Ornamental Die, which is such a cool die because it comes with the stamps that you could stamp inside the ornament, or you could as well cut out just a plain ornament, or you can add some patterns into the center and onto the sides by using these standard preset templates. So I originally did just the middle, and then I went ahead later and did the two ends. So once I had those on there, I went ahead and secured them with some washi tape so that they wouldn't move around, and I was able to add that Noel there, but I'm going to have to cut out this wreath twice in order to get the O twice. So I secured those on there and sent them through my die cutting machine, but my panel was a little bit too big, so what I did was I just cut around the dies here and then split it into 2 sheets of paper so that I could go ahead and run that through my die cutting machine. It actually worked out really well, and I left enough space there to cut out that O twice. Now, in order to save some time, I die cut those off screen and separated all the dies, but you'll see each individual one as I put the cards together. So I went ahead in the stamp set and I grabbed the 'Tis the Season to be Jolly, but as you could see, you could use the ho ho ho, you could use the lights, there are so many little decorations you could add to your tree, so it's really up to you as to how you want to decorate it. But I used some Versamark ink here, and I'm just going to add some white embossing powder on top of it, and I'm going to be stamping it with my Misty stamping tool. I'm going to stamp this actually twice just to make sure that it got on there perfectly, because it's a solid stamp and it's the first time I'm using it. It's just definitely a good idea to do that. And I'm going to cover it with some white embossing powder and then set it off to the side to be heat set later. So now I'm going to start putting everything together. I'm going to be working on some white card panels that measure 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to do a white on white technique in which I stick it onto a white card base later. I find having that frame and that subtle border there along the sides to just make a really big difference in my cards rather than sticking these directly onto the card bases themselves. Now, since I know you are all perfectly capable of gluing, I am just speeding up this section here as I put all of these cards together. Now for the Noel, I found it easy to put the N and the L in the corners and then arrange the 2 middle letters accordingly. I did find that sticking the E down first was definitely helpful, because then you could add the wreath even though it's going to layer sort of on top. And I did have to layer them diagonally in order for them to fit onto the card. So it's also a great die set to have if you like making 5 by 7 cards. Then this last one here, I am just going to go ahead and heat set the writing on the Jolly stamp sentiment and then add the tree to the panel itself. I like to add do the heat setting beforehand so it doesn't warp my paper. And now I'm simply going to add all of these onto some card bases, and then I can call it a day. I did add at the top of this ornament with the die cut is in silver. I made my own silver paper because I don't have any, and if you want to learn how to do that, just check out the day 4 card of my Christmas series. And I do feature how to do that on the Concord and 9th video I did last. Then I just went ahead and added Christmas cheer and Happy New Year to the joy card. It felt like it needed a little extra something, and the stamps is just so gorgeous, so you could have even added those word background stamps or even the wood grain, and that would have looked nice as well. And then I'm just going to simply add one onto the bottom of this ornament card. I think the ornament is really the focal point, so I want a really subtle sentiment here that says sending glad tidings, but you could of course put a white die cut sentiment over top of the ornament as well if you find it's too bold for you. Just going to show you a final look at all the cards. They're very clean and simple, and I love the way that they turned out. And as you can see, by watercoloring one background, which in total took me 11 minutes in real time, you can create 4 different cards that are really cool. So you can mass produce these quite easily for the Christmas season. Here's the final look at all the cards once they were dry and mounted. I hope you enjoyed today's card video. There is a giveaway today over on my blog. I have a couple of stamp sets to give away for you, so you can go ahead and check those out in the video description below. I have the link, as well as the link to all the supplies and the Galaxy watercolor class that I am currently taking. Also, you can subscribe to my channel if you're interested, or you can check out my playlist, Christmas playlist there if you want some more inspiration and ideas, or if you missed out already on any of the 12 Days of Christmas videos. I will see you on Monday for day 6. Thanks and have a great weekend.